Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and welcome to today's video, the market analysis for the Forex market, December 19, 2016 week. We're going to go over all the popular pairs in just a moment, but before that, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping. This will be the last market analysis video for this year. We will be back early in the new year, around 5th of January, I think, to upload our take on the markets. Please be careful in trading this week. Liquidity is very low, and therefore volatility may be higher than normal. So if you are going to trade, not only this week but next week, which is a full trading week, but very slow sitting right between Christmas and New Year, and even in the New Year, the first week, it really takes a little bit to get going before the big players come back on board. So this next 2-3 week break, if you are going to trade, there's nothing wrong with that, but consider making your trades shorter wherever you can, lock in profits, and focus on getting into the market and getting out of the market, rather than long-term positional trades, which is the type of signals that we tend to publish on Traders Elite. So use your indicators. They can be used on all time frames. So we've got, if you're a premium member, you would have access to all the indicators that we use. If you're not, then consider upgrading. It's definitely worthwhile. The big arrows that you see here are the trend catcher indicator, and they're giving us an idea of when a new trend is or has formed. It's a simple indicator based on the moving average, crossover, and the MACD, but very, very powerful. The small arrows that you can see here is on the price slip indicator, and it gives us an idea of reversals in the marketplace, or times in the market where there's fatigue in any one direction. Here you can see almost all of them are winners. When trading with the price slip, it's good to trade with the trend. So with, let's say you're within a 4-hour trend, you want to take perhaps like these ones here are pretty good because they're with the overall trend on the same time frame. Of course, price slip is a great indicator on the 1-hour charts as well. And the third indicator that you see is macro levels, which are these horizontal lines. They're based on the weekly and monthly time frames, so they don't tend to change very often. In fact, they've only changed and been updated once this year, post Brexit, because the movements were so extreme. They will be updated shortly. They're due for an update, but fundamentally, because they are on these longer term weekly, monthly time frames, they take that much longer to change because they're in effect for so much longer. Okay, so let's go through the charts. We'll start with gold. Now, as always, I'll step down through the time frames from the weekly. When you're in the middle of a forest, it's hard to see, which direction you should go. So I always recommend that you look at the high time frames first to give you an idea of which direction you should be trading. So this is on the weekly time frame. You can see a few weeks ago the trend changed from upward to downward, and it's been that way ever since. There was this correction here. Nice pick on this price flip at the time. So weekly down, daily down, and 4-hour, overall down. Now it has technically changed at this point here, but I don't like taking these particular trades because the slow moving average is still pointing down. So it's just a bit too extreme of a move, and more likely to fail. So as of what to do now, let's just go to last week. Last week, I said short provided that the price remains below 1168. And you can see actually, well, it plummeted from 1168. Now we'd be looking at 1142 to be the line in the sand, this macro level here, 1142.80. Possibly look at a shorter time frame, say the 1 hour or even the 15-minute, and see if you can get in on a short at around this 1142 level. We had a move down from this price flip here, and this one was another a successful one. So as close to that macro level as you can. It's still in this upward movement on the 1 hour, but it's just a matter of time now, waiting for a new setup to the downside. So short on gold based on the weekly and daily time frames. Okay, Euro 4 hour time frame here. If we look at the weekly, it's down. It's down on the daily and down on the 4 hourly. So overall, it's short. Last week we said short while price remains below 107.12, and that's back up here. So we've had quite a big movement since last week, around 300 pips. And at this stage, possibly 104.62, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we had a movement back to 105.22 before a further move downward. So again, possibly looking at the 1 hour or the 15-minute. But wait, obviously now is not a good time necessarily to go short on euro. Just a matter of again waiting for a better opportunity to arise. Pound, this is the 4 hour. On the weekly, it's very much down, continuing that way for quite some time now. On the daily, it's just changed over to a daily downtrend, and as long as it stays under this level, 124.82, I think most traders would agree that the downward move will continue. So we'll see what happens at the end of today, but it's already been indicated as such as of yesterday. So down on the 4 hour, we might get a move back up to 124.82, but as last week, we remain short on the euro. So euro pound, 4 hour, it's a little difficult to tell at this stage. It's gone through a consolidation. And on the weekly, we can see a bit more clearly. It's been going up all year, apart from the occasional correction, but now it's changed officially direction, and as long as it stays under that 0.84 level, then we may see further falls. Down on the daily and on the 4 hour. So, given the weekly and the daily, we'd still be short on that, provided it stays under 84. Even if it goes up to 85, when you look at it on the basis of the daily, but even more so on the weekly, it's still going to remain down. However, I think you'd be a bit more cautious if it goes to that level. So, at the moment, there's a good opportunity there, say on the 1 hour, for example. Now, that looks like it's shaping up pretty soon. And we may get an opportunity to short the euro pound on this next trade that occurs or trade setup. Okay, pound Swiss. This is on the 4 hour. On the weekly, it's up, and it's nearly up now. If you recall previous sessions, I've shared with you that the pound Swiss is on chart-wise anyway, almost a mirror reflection of the euro pound. So euro pound has just started its weekly downward trend, and pound Swiss has started its weekly upward trend. So a new upward change here, and these are great opportunities here. In addition to short trades and daily trades or inter-daily trades, this is the thing that institutions will do. They'll take a position, and hold it basically, because there's a lot of pips there. There's over 2,500 pips, 2,700 or so, to these previous significant highs. So we're seeing the birth of a new trend here. Whether it fails or whether it stands is another thing that we're yet to see. But technically, we're in the start of a weekly upward trend. Daily, we saw this yesterday, this move, or well, actually today, this move down to this macro level, touch it, and then bounce. So very, very reactionary. And then on the 4 hour, we're downward. So I'd be looking at possibly again a shorter time frame, maybe the 1 hour. Or even the 15-minute. Now, the macro level has already been touched. Now, will it be tested again? We're not sure. But if a new trade setup occurs, say on the 1 hour, then there could be a good opportunity to go long on the pound Swiss. Okay, and actually last week, what do we say? Long, provided price remains above 126.47. So 126.47. Okay, so long here, a nice trade upward, and we've had a retesting of that level, but look for another opportunity, or consider looking for another opportunity to the upside. Excuse me. Now, Aussie, that's been going down. Last week we said short provided price remains below 75.33. So 75.33 way up here, and about 270, 280 pips. Now let's see. So on the 1 hour, price flip is quite an active indicator on that time frame, and you can see here and here. Any further back now, that was the double top there, and then move into a 1 hour downward trend. So congratulations if you picked that one up. Now, as far as where we're going from here, weekly it is downward, and if it stays below 72.67, that would be, really the key figure to look at as far as retaining its downward move. And daily, it's started a new, this is a classic example of a change in trend that failed. It said that it was going up, and then it went down. Now you can see almost by the body language, it wasn't going up. Closes were lower than the previous closes, and that's always a warning sign just on pure price action. If you're predicting that a pair will be moving up, you always want the close of the bar to be higher than the close of the previous bar on particularly the higher time frames like the 4 hour and the daily. So anyway, we've seen a new downward trend occur on the daily. So it's down on the weekly, down on the daily, and 4 hour down. Now it's almost looking a little overstretched now, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw a move upward. Even I said 72.67 before, but even if we get a movement back up to 73.85, if that were to occur, then it wouldn't change the technicals as far as downward on both the weekly and and even the daily. If it came up to here, this would still be all pointing down. So so it's a solid trade, but it's just a matter of waiting for the best opportunity to get involved in shorting the Aussie. So ideally, if it stays below 72.67, if you find resistance, say on a 1 hour or even a short 15 minutes, you might get some movement here, and then it overstretches the mark, which is fairly typical. Sometimes it'll just touch the level, sometimes it'll go a little bit, surpass it, and then come back, form a new 15-minute. Then that could be a good opportunity, possibly to short the Aussie. Alrighty, Kiwi, much the same. 4 hour, it's down on the weekly. New weekly trend is formed just recently. We can see price slip picking that up as well. So you can use price slip on those greater time frames, the daily and the weekly, as well as the 4 hour and the 1 hour. Daily, it's down, and 4 hourly, it's down. So once again, I'm going to just summarize through the much of the rest of the pairs because it is very much the same, and it's all becoming a little repetitive. So my best suggestion going into these next 2-3 weeks is to trade carefully and get in and get out if you're going to trade at all, that is. But What I want to say is that it's pretty much the case. The movements have all happened from last week. It was a fantastic a couple of weeks, actually, if you've been using the indicators combined with the market analysis that we've been providing. But right now, in a lot of pairs, we'll try to find some opportunities. But right now, a lot of these pairs have already had their move, so this is the time where it's just a matter of waiting. Much like fishing, sometimes they come in waves and or in schools rather, and other times there's not much to do. But let's see if we can find some action. So Aussie Kiwi, indeterminate on the 4 hour. It is technically upward, but it's about to cross over. But I don't have a lot of confidence in this because the slow moving average is still moving, too strongly up. So let's have a look. Weekly indeterminate as well. It's just really too close to call. Daily, it's been going down, but again, we've had this daily upswing. So if anything, I don't even want to call this one. It's possible that it's going to be range bound between these two macro levels, or even if it gets up to the 106.34, I don't think there'll be much movement upward from that. But it's just too difficult too close to call at this stage. So in trading, it really is a matter of going for the easiest trades at that particular time, and just ignoring the ones that are a bit too close to call. Again, using the fishing analogy, it's like finding a different fishing spot. If there's, if they're not biting, then move on and go somewhere else, and you might have better luck. Dollar CAD, this has been upward for quite some time. Weekly, it hasn't been as strong as some of the other movements, but I think that it's picking up steam. There's a lot of movement to go in that weekly, and we've seen this nice new weekly upswing from last week. Daily, nice and strong as far as movement goes, and looking almost imminent that we're going to have a new trend trade forming. So we'll see how we go as far as resistance. We're already in this with a published signal for long from last week, and I would say that it's getting up to target 2 at this stage. So it really, the line in the sand really is 134.57. If you're not in this trade already, see how it reacts at that point. Or you can look at possibly a quick scalp up to that level, and lock in some profits, not necessarily a hard target, because it might bust through, and you could make some more pips. On the 15-minute, you can see here it's been rallying pretty strongly. Okay, dollar Swiss. Let's have a look. Weekly upward. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. On last week, long dollar CAD, long provided price remains above 130.62. So just quickly going back, 130.62, way down here. Actually, that's a nice one. You can see, well, the move was really, really big at that one. I wouldn't necessarily recommend taking that because, the stop would have to be so big. But if you were taking just purely a macro level trade, then it came pretty darn close. And of course, these price lifts on the 4 hour. Let's have a look on the 1 hour as well. You could see, with your back against the wall to 130.62 as your support, you know that the pair is going upward overall, because weekly it's up and daily it's up. 4 hour it's up as well. So on that short, that's how you would play it. You first of all determine what direction is most likely to succeed based on those higher time frames. So as for now, it's still upward. If there's a correction to 132.60, that would be almost a gift. So if you find that price behaves with, or it finds support because it just bounces off this line, doesn't punch through or doesn't close below that line, then it could be an opportunity to go long on the dollar CAD once again. So back to the dollar Swiss, it's still upward. So last week we said long provided price remains above 101.29. So 101.29 is here. So we've had some pretty strong movements and pretty good opportunities as well. This would have been a nice one over here. with a 1 hour trend trade to the upside. So for now, probably just looking at a shorter time frame and just looking for an opportunity here. 15-minute is already taken off, and that's away. So we'll see how that goes. 1 hour hasn't formed yet, possibly a 1 hour, and then remember to lock in your profits as the price comes closer to this 103.28. Okay, dollar yen. We've been long on dollar yen for some time. Weekly, we can say, well, for the last, quite a few weeks, I've been talking about this downward movement since 2015 being overdue for a change in tide, and we could see that with in different time frames, including the weekly here. It finally found support. It formed a new weekly trend trade, and it's been up and away ever since. So it's rebounded a lot from last year's falls. So upward on the weekly, upward on the daily, and technically downward on the 4 hour as far as a new trend trade. But as you can see here, it's been upward a lot. And once again, we've seen three good examples in the session where of trend trades to not look at as optimistically, because here you can see that X kind of shape here with the long moving average, that's the gray one here, still going up and at quite a strong uh, trajectory. You want to take trend trades when the slow moving average is curled over and is pretty much level, or even downward if possible as well. So it gives you the strongest possible chance. But anyway, I'd be looking at an opportunity here again, maybe on the shorter time frame, so the 1 hour or even the 15-minute. Probably the 1 hour is the time frame that I like to get to unless I'm particularly keen on a particular pair. And the rest of the yen pairs I will just summarize because they're all very, very similar. You see what I mean here on the weekly, down, daily, and this is interesting because it's just started, so there could be opportunities to go long. However, just be aware that the euro is in a bit of a free fall against the US dollar at the moment, so it this particular time, not so strong. However, upward on the weekly, upward on the daily up until today. 4 hour, new 4 hour. So this could be an opportunity to look for a new trend trade to the upside again, maybe on the 4 hour, maybe on the 1 hour. Um, Not so much on the 15-minute, only because it's just started. You look at the 15-minute when the 4 hour trend has been in play for a long time, but when it's just started, try to drop down to the 1 hour at the most. That would be my suggestion there. So last week we said, okay, so dollar yen long provided price remains above 114.87. Let's just go back to that. So 114.87. Wow, yeah. So it took off there. Um, Euro long provided price remains above 119.80, and okay, so it stayed above 119.80, and that's where I'd be looking again for another opportunity. I wouldn't be looking at jumping back into a long trade on the dollar yen, sorry, on the euro yen in this case, until we've seen a move. So that analysis would remain the same. In fact, pretty much all of last week's analysis, well, except for the ones that have made big movements, the direction is still the same, but just the levels that we're looking at now will differ, and that's been the case for a while now. So pound yen, you can see it's reacted off 144.80. It's newly formed, which is always a little bit of a danger. But weekly, it's upward. Daily, it's upward. If we get more of a retracement over the next hour and a half, then to the close of day, GMT wise, then we could see another movement. And that's bouncing off that 144.80 macro level. So again, maybe 1 hour, but wait for the opportunity. See, here you go again with a failed 15-minute because it's just too start and it's too early in it, too close to the start of that 4 hour trend. So 1 hour would probably be the best way to go, and wait for another opportunity there, or a 4-hour macro level. But when it's like this, you need to be prepared that there may be a retesting of that level. So anyway, upward on the pound. Long provided price remains above 144.80, and the same applies now. 144.80 is the line in the sand. Okay, Aussie yen. That's not the one that I would be looking at to go long on because it's just been having some pretty massive moves to the downside. But nevertheless, technically, we see upward on the weekly. Daily, it's still upward technically. However, price action wise, prices dropped below, both fast and slow moving average. It's crashed through these macro levels. It's not one that I would be looking at now. Last week we said long provided price remains above 85.41. Okay, and at that time it had the move, and now it's back. So same would apply now. 85.41 would be the macro level. You want to use that as support and not necessarily get into the trade until it does get up above 85.41, or if it drops to 83.55, and then a new nice trade setup forms. So Kiwi yen, last week we said long provided price remains above 81.42, and same applies now. Weekly it's up, daily it's up, except same like the Aussie, it's fallen below price action wise, below both moving averages and the 81.42 level, which is an important level to watch. So again, it's to the end of its 1 hour. I hope you're seeing some patterns here that I'm pointing out. It's stretched on its 1 hour. It's starting to slow down and go sideways. A new trade setup may form now, and likely to be above 81.42. That would give you a 1 hour upward trend trade above your support, which is how you want to play it. You always want to sell when it's below resistance lines, and above when it's a support line. Alrighty, Swiss yen, same thing here. Weekly trend is up, daily trend is up, stronger than the Aussie and the Kiwi. As you can see, price hasn't fallen, below that slow moving average. So again, it's up, but it's not the right time now. Okay, so Swiss yen, long provided price remains above 113.01, and the same applies this time. So I'd let it unwind back to here, and this could present a great opportunity to go long. Alrighty, CAD yen. Long provided price remains above 87.39, 87.39. So it did move up, it's come back down, and that level holds. Now we want to see that price close above it again. So weekly it's up, daily it's up. If we see a movement, say again on the 1 hour, yeah. That's the thing with time frames. The 1 hour is going to provide you a little bit more of a stabler trade, or a higher likelihood of that happening. But on the other side, you get in a little bit later, okay? Because it's on a 1 hour time frame as opposed to a 15-minute. On the 15-minute, you get in quicker, but you run the risk of a possible failed trade. Of course, you do on any time frame, but I hope you get what I mean. Just a little bit more stable on those higher ones. Okay, Euro Aussie, weekly down, daily, it's almost going to move up, but it is still technically down with an upswing, and this 143.46 level is the one to watch. So last week, I said short provided price remains below 143.46, and it's just below 143.46. Now, if it closes below that, we could get a daily price flip occur because that week is looking really long. 4 hour, it's still upward. This is a really hard one to call because it's so mixed. Once again, there's easier fish to catch. Say Euro Aussie short. Okay, so all right. So maybe a 1 hour. It's still within its weekly down. Daily, well, it's in an upswing, but if it drops down to 143 or thereabouts, then it's the price is being resisted at that level. we could see more of a move down on the 4 hour if this continues, MACD continues. So, it could be worth a shot, but again, lock in your profits. That they, at this stage, it's not looking that certain, but let's see how it looks in 2 or 3 hours. If price is below around here and it's looking stronger right now, it's not. It's looking like there's still some more movement to go because after all, it is still in a 4 hour and a fairly strong 4 hour movement at that. It has been shown. That's where you can use price slips. It shows possible fatigue here, sort of a unwillingness of the market to go any higher. Um, but at this stage, it's worth further looking at, but a little bit tricky to decipher. But in any case, short provided it's under 143.46. Okay, pound Aussie weekly. Well, this is interesting because at the end of this week, it'll be confirmed that a new weekly uptrend is formed. But that's if price, stays up here. If it crashes, then you're going to get this yellow moving average, the fast moving average curling back down, and the grey one as well. So it's a little tricky. We've seen a lot of movement to the downside, but this could be us witnessing the birth of a new upward trend on the weekly. For that to be even stronger, you would want, of course, the price to close at the end of this week above this 172.14 level. Okay, daily, it's upward and pretty strongly upward there as well. So let's see what happens with this 4 hour. It's upward, but you can see it's just consolidated. If you get a move back down, see, last week we said short provided price remains below 172.14, and that's this level here. Hasn't quite got there yet. If it will, I don't know. But it's a tricky one to short because weekly it's right at the beginning of a new weekly trend trade. Hasn't been confirmed yet. Will be at the close of the bar, and the close of the bar is at the end of the trading week. Daily, we've seen some consolidation here. Another one a little close to call, so we may look at this one being more of range bound, unless it's, put it this way, long if it closes above 72.14, but be very careful on it because it's at pretty high levels at this stage. But it could be, the start of a new upward trend. However, if it stays under 72.14, 172.14, then we could be looking at a new downward move. Because if a 4 hour trend trade occurs here, see in the 1 hour. So it's an interesting one. And, if we see a new 4 hour forming, then and a move down to 166.45, then it's certainly going to be remaining as short as it has been. And it'll end up being a failed weekly, but a little difficult to tell. 4 hour on the Euro weekly now, Euro Kiwi, and we can see here short provided price remains below 149.67 and 149.67. It's been a little above, but still overall down on the weekly. This is interesting. We're seeing a new possible daily trend trade occurring. So we're seeing the similar pattern on these exotic crosses, the Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie, and now the Euro Kiwi, and upward on the 4 hour. So, because it's gone above 49.67 at this stage, it's looking more on the long side, up towards 154.10. That's provided that it stays above 149.67. If it drops below 149.67, then we could see new short. All bets are off for any long. Okay, pound Kiwi, I'm guessing this is going to be fairly the same, and it is. Pound Kiwi short provided price drops below 177.07 and doesn't look like it did last week. So, we could see at the end of this week, we'll see a new trend trade confirmed to the upside on the weekly chart. Daily, it just has occurred. So yeah, again, I would be looking at a possible long trade now up towards 85.44. That's as long as this 4 hour trend trade remains in play. Okay, and we've got a new 1 hour here. Not very strong looking, but overall, since it's been going up, there's more bulls and bears already in the trade, so to speak. Okay, so just wrapping it up, Aussie Kiwi. This is an interesting one. I mean, take a look at that. Really, really strong to the downside. What did we say last week? Short provided price remains below 98.41, and it has 98.41 is way up here. Looks like it really collapsed with the Aussie experiencing serious weakness as well. So weekly down, daily down, and 4 hour down. So once again, if it remains below 98.41, we're looking at short. At this stage, we're seeing consolidation under this 97.49. So there may be a move. If you see it react back down, then you may be able to pick up, say, a price flip. To the downside. Okay, Euro CAD. Okay, short provided price remains below 140.25. Weekly down quite strong as well. Daily down, very similar. And yeah, it's very, very similar to the Aussie CAD actually. So if you see, okay, well, we're looking at a possible downward trend on the 1 hour. That could be good because the 4 hour is extremely weak, as you can see there. No real movement, or any movement has collapsed on itself, and it's in the middle of it. Well, it's full-fledged daily and weekly, so this could be a nice one, going short on this new 1 hour trend trade just about to form. Okay, pound CAD, last one for the day. Short provided price drops below 167.24, which is here. It never really passed it, just a little bit here, but it never certainly closed above it. Downward on the weekly, downward on the daily with a bit of a consolidation here. And new 4 hour just about to start, on the close of this bar, but it's looking very, choppy. So probably not the best one. So you can see here, it's looking like an upward day 1 hour. So not the easiest one. There's plenty of other nicer, friendlier opportunities for us traders. So with that, I hope you have got some more insights today. We've got some really exciting things happening in the new year. I've got some workshop webinars planned on trade system building. We've got some software coming out that is just it's incredible as far as its trade management goes, and its ability to detect and manage those trades. We've got a chat room coming as well, so lots of exciting stuff. Thank you very much for your support. It's been a wonderful year. We've had some great months. We've had some months that weren't so great, but after 5 years, we're still here, and we're really looking forward to 2017 and growing together. So until next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.